Do you ever, like, when you're setting up, do you have a process for that?
No, I mean I'm like a very disorganized control freak.
Oh, okay. That's a fun way to put it.
So
That's what your T-shirt should say.
Yeah, right. So I have my routine, I guess, and I have all my gear, and I know where everything is, more or less.
Yeah.
But if anyone saw it, it's like a shambles, you know.
Yeah. You have it set up how you have it set up.
Yeah.
And it only makes sense.
And I don't like when I work with DPs, there's a certain way that they shoot things, and I don't shoot anything like that. You know, like when I film, I have my cameras basically the image that I have in the camera is how it more or less it's going to look at the end.
Yeah.
Which is a very stupid way of filming things because you have absolutely no leeway.
Right.
If I get it wrong and the band or whoever doesn't like what I've done, then there's not much I can do with it because that look is just baked into it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of a really dumb thing to do in a way.
Wait, can you dive in on that a little bit? You're just saying like how you light it is how it's going to look, and
how
DPs normally will light it a way that they can play with it later.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm basically my own boss.
Yeah.
Although I do answer to record labels and managers and that kind of thing, I just film it how I want it to look.
Yeah.
And I know that's how I want it to look. And I put all kinds of like grads and colors and heavy tones and stuff on it.
Ah, I see.
Right. But most people do that in post.
Most people just make it really bright and then do that in post.
But I hate it.
How did you... It seems like you've taught yourself a lot of this stuff. How did you get around lighting? Like, lighting is so intimidating. Even recording this podcast with a GoPro, I struggled with lighting right away, and I've found that just doing it during the day when there's natural light is the easiest and the best. But how did you, like, get... Was it just trial and error a bunch on random stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I had a few experiences with DPs where I just didn't feel like I was getting what I wanted, and I found it very frustrating.
You couldn't elaborate what you were trying to say or whatever.
Yeah, and they wouldn't understand what I wanted. Yeah, so I wasn't getting what I had in my mind. And now it's just about shortcuts of getting things done, and also it's a necessity of money. Like the more things I do myself, the more I get paid. And whilst it's like there's some things I can't do, like I'm really bad at producing and anything to do with money or anything like that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the creative stuff, I just really like, and I think with actors, like a lot of directors sit behind a monitor because they like the feeling of power and they like having big crews, and I don't like that feeling, and I don't like having a lot of people milling around, and I don't like the kind of hierarchy of a crew at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like acting is an extremely, I have a lot of respect for acting because I just can't, like I said, I can't do it myself. So to me, it's quite a magical thing, and I think that it's very hard for an actor to sit there because they're kind of like invisible on a film set. The crew mostly ignores actors, which is a bit weird. But so I just like to have that bond with the actor, and I think when I'm operating the camera, there's just a natural bond between the actor and me.
Yeah.
Because they know that I'm getting what I want.
Yeah.
And so they have that immediate trust that if I am happy with it, then it must be all right.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of camera operators and DPs have such good relationships with actors, because they're the one behind the camera.
Right.
And so for me, I don't know, it's kind of evolved for me, and more I've just got into the camera stuff. But lighting, like I never learned how to light, and it's not like I studied it. It's just like trial and error, like anything. It's like playing the guitar, you know, like you kind of learn the basics and then you're off on your own.
Another thing that is so foreign to me.
Right.
Playing guitar.
Right.
Lighting and playing guitar.
Right. Well, anything's practice. It's like writing.
Yeah.
Like people think writing is like a gift, and I don't think it is. It's just something that you commit to doing, and then you do it every day, and you get really good at it.
Right.
You know?
I will tell you this, from what we filmed together, I did like that you were behind the camera and you were working it. Like, I really appreciate that, because it felt like you were getting your hand, and you were we were in a very hot warehouse, and you were carrying this giant contraption to move the camera up and down. What do they call that, by the way? A harness?
Yeah.
You had this big harness on, a rig on,
neck suit.
And I like that you were in there getting your hands dirty, if you will, with us and talking right to us rather than from around a corner.
I mean, it shows a lot of good intention, doesn't it? When you're willing to put the work in. I mean, the downside is that I'm often doing like 1,000 things, so I don't have the one-on-one with the actors, but I do feel like I do make up for that because I'm always just there.
Yeah.
Like sometimes recently I did a scene where there were like 60 extras and I had to light a whole mansion, and there were a bunch of special effects and things, and I was literally doing it myself.
Oh.
And it was just a clusterfuck. And times like that, it gets really stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But then on the Blum movie, there was a crew of like Blum movies with like 60 crew or whatever.
Blumhouse,
yeah, I did
the production company. Yeah.
And that was like a big budget for me. And
those were the Hulu ones.
Yeah,
Into the Dark.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that because I spend so much time by myself, like doing all this myself, that it was nice to interact with other people who were talented and had opinions. The downside was that I had to interact with other people.